here we go, let's take a look at the 3D Sega Saturn fighters. Of course, the Sega Saturn was always downplayed as being a 2D only machine, or a machine that can do nothing but complete utter cack 3D. Well, yeah, true, a lot of the 3D games on the Sega Saturn were a bit on the crappy side, but there were also some fantastic 3D Saturn games. And this game just goes to show, if you know how to program a Saturn, you can get better results than what you can on a PlayStation. Well, a bit of fanboy views there, fanboyism or whatever you call it. But actually the PlayStation version of Dead or Alive is nowhere near as good as the Sega Saturn version. In fact, this Saturn version is so much better that this version actually features on the Xbox Dead or Alive collection. Not the arcade version of Dead or Alive, but the Sega Saturn version. Okay, so now that the fancy intro is over, let's get into the actual game. As with most beat-em-ups, especially the 3D ones, there's loads of different character costumes to choose from. Unfortunately, you've got to complete the game quite a few times, and my save has disappeared. So unfortunately, you won't be able to see any of the lovely flashy costumes, including some perverted schoolgirl costumes. The game runs at 30 frames a second in the Saturn's highest resolution and looks absolutely fantastic. As you can see, the floors, the characters are all rock solid. No polygon breakup, no bending. That's how it should be. Nice. Game mode wise, there's the usual one-player game, and then you got the versus two-player game. You got survival, you got training, and I think there's also a tournament in there. I can't quite remember. But so there's quite a few game modes in there to keep you happy. And as far as playability goes, well, it's pretty much the same as the arcade. In other words, fantastic. So this is CRITICOM, another PlayStation conversion. PlayStation original was complete and utter crap, and of course the Sega Saturn version is also complete and utter crap. The game does, to be fair, the game does feature a very nice CG introduction, but it drags on forever and ever, so I've just cut it out. But if you really do want to see it, you can head on over to my site, Sega domain, and check it out there. But anyway, on with the game, CRITICOM, and as you can see, nothing. Sound just seems to be punching the air most of the time. The controls are pathetic, completely unresponsive, and the sound effects don't even don't even exist. It's bloody awful, and the enemies have got American accents. You know, that's going to blow off any feeling of fantasy, isn't it? Don't you get any feeling of fantasy from this before? Avoid at all costs.
Commence battle.
Here's an easy one.
And keeping with the flashy intros, this is D3rd. Now a lot of people think this was made by Takada, but it wasn't. It was made by a company known as Nextech, who were originally a subgroup of Sega. Basically, it's just an independent software house that programs games for bigger name companies. And I've got to say, Nextech have certainly thought about this game. Well, in the graphic department anyway. It doesn't play too well. As with all of 3D beat-em-ups released by Takada on the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn, this one also plays as if it's underwater. But maybe Nextech made all their games for them, who knows? And what we're going to do here is just take a look at a few of the stages. Now, as you can see, everything looks pretty big, nice and solid. And look at that, even got light sourcing. Yeah, that's right, light sourcing in a Sega Saturn 3D fighter. Pretty unusual. Well, maybe except for Fighting Vipers. And what this game does boast is light sourcing, shading, 3D transparencies. Everything's in real time, and it also features some real 3D stages. Something which even Sega never managed to pull off without them flickering like hell. In fact, come to think of it, I don't think Sega were that good at programming, especially on the sound, because if you look at a lot of the third-party games, a lot of them seem to feature effects which Sega games don't. A lot of Sega games do feature them. They look a lot worse. For example, just look at the 3D background here and compare it to those on Fighters Megamix or Last Bronx. They flicker like hell. These don't. So anyway, as I was saying, this game is a little bit on the sluggish side as far as response goes from button presses. The moves are also a bit on the weird side. Nothing seems to go as you'd expect it to go. It's a bit of a shame really, because if this played a lot better and it was a bit more fluent, it would have been a very nice game. But unfortunately, it's not. Still, there are worse 3D beat-em-ups on the Saturn, put it that way. A very obscure beat-em-up this is. This is El Doru, or El Dori, depending on which title you read, the katakana or the Roman letters. Anyway, yeah, as I was saying, it's an obscure 3D fighter. But unlike many other 3D fighters, this one uses dragons. You should get a bit of music while it's loading. Running in the Sega Saturn's highest resolution, things look quite nice. And in fact, this is a conversion of an arcade game which was running on the STV board, which, as I mentioned, is basically a Sega Saturn. Now, it does control completely different to other 3D fighters, and they can be a little bit on the weird side, to be honest. You have your standard projectiles, but you can also get up close and use your main character to smack the crap out of the opposition. Now, by no means is it a bad game, but it's definitely an acquired taste, I'd say. Worth checking out if you're after something a little bit unusual. Why is it that all the 3D games seem to have CG intros? Oh well, this is a Fighters Megamix, Sega's present to the Saturn community. Well, the intro goes on forever, so we'll just cut it off halfway through, actually, to be honest. It doesn't have to drag on, and you're not missing much. Anyway, as I was saying, this was Sega's so-called present to the Saturn community because we weren't getting Virtua Fighter 3, even though it was in production twice, and was even listed for release. Anyway, this game features some stages from Virtua Fighter 3, well, one stage. Also features some Sonic the Fighters characters, unfortunately not Sonic. Again, Sonic the Fighters was a game which was meant to be coming to the Sega Saturn, but it never did. Again, also one that's meant to be published. I mean, one that was in production. This game also features the Arabian character that was originally in Virtua Fighter. You can see him right now, Simba. He was originally in Virtua Fighter, the prototype, but was removed in the end. But now you get the chance to play him. If you didn't know, Fighters Megamix gives you the choice of playing in Virtua Fighter mode or Fighting Vipers mode. As you can see here, the game is slowing down like hell. Yes, slow down and beat 'em up is not acceptable. Anyway, yeah, as I was saying, you got two different modes to play. Personally, I find the Fighting Vipers mode a lot more exciting. Not that there's anything wrong with the Virtua Fighters mode. And see, the game doesn't take itself too serious. You gotta sort of beating the crap out of the Daytona car there. Other Sega mascot characters such as Rent-A-Hero is in there. Could have done with a bit of Alex Kidd action, to be honest though. Now, a lot of Sega fans rank Fighters Megamix as being one of the ultimate beat-em ups for the machine, but you know, to be honest, it's not. It slows down, it's got awful clipping, the resolution isn't as high as other 3D fighters, and once the novelty wears off to being able to play such crazy characters as a Daytona car, it's really worth getting. So just hang around, which I hope you will do, and take a look at Fighting Vipers coming up next. Notice how much better it looks. And it doesn't slow down. Oh, yeah!
Game over!
Did you ever think that Sega's CG intros were a bit on the plain side? Especially when compared to Namco's. Oh well. Anyway, yeah, another CG intro. It's nice enough, but it does drag on for quite a while, so we'll cut it short and get straight into the game, I think.
Fighting Vipers.
Okay, so it's got the usual modes of play: arcade mode, versus mode, team battle mode, and training and so on. But this is the Japanese version of Fighting Vipers, and the Japanese version has got... Yep, that's right, Pepsi Man. It's worth buying this game just for Pepsi Man alone. Basically, Pepsi Man is like Dural, basically. The Dural of Fighting Vipers. But it looks a lot cooler. Now, first thing you notice about this game is that it does look actually quite clean, nice and bright. The 3D backgrounds are pretty solid for the most part. And there's some nice shading and light sourcing in there as well. One of the highlights of fighting Vipers is the ability to knock off your opponent's armor. And if that wasn't enough, you could knock them right through the fence as well. The game does have a tiny bit of slowdown here and there, but nowhere near as bad as Fighters Megas Mix. Did I say Fighters Megas Mix? Fighters Mega Mix, I should say. As expect, being a Sega 3D beat 'em up, it's the usual array of buttons. You got a block, punch and kick. And it's the usual set combinations as well. Not that that's a bad thing.
Round 1. Let the action begin. Go!
Gotta say, this is probably the best tune on the entire game.
Honey.
Final Fight Revenge!
That's right, Final Fight shite. Yep. When you think of American games from the 90s, basically you think shit. It's not like that now. Now some of the best games come from the States. But back then, man, they were all fucking shit. And even the big names were no exception. Capcom USA, they were renowned for making shit. And this is just one of their shit games. This is Final Fight Revenge for the Sega Saturn, obviously. And why the hell Capcom Japan let them release this, I don't know. It's a 3D fighter, as you can see, with absolutely no control whatsoever. It's like, not only does it control really bad, it looks really bad. The 3D polygon models have got the most, well, probably the worst 3D textures I've ever seen on a Sega Saturn 3D fighter. Even Fist has got better textures than this crap. As you can see, I'm having a pretty difficult time getting the moves out as well. That's not because I'm bad at games, it's because the game is bad. Unfortunately, being one of the last released Sega Saturn games, this one does go for big money. It actually came out a year after the Sega Dreamcast had been released in Japan. So make it worth buying though. Unless you're a collector, that is. If you're not a collector, avoid at all costs. I also forgot to mention that Final Fight Revenge uses the 4MB RAM cartridge. God knows why. It takes ages to load. Looks awful. I'm talking about looking awful. This is Fist. Can you believe it? This was made by Genki, the company responsible for the Wangan Midnight Run racing games, including the ones on the arcade, published by Namco. Well, it's got cleaner looking textures than Final Fight, put it that way. As you'd expect, it's a girly 3D fighter, and as we all know, most girly fighting games are a load of crap. This is no exception. Pretty bad controls, next to no moves whatsoever, and well, you know, you just punch and kick and that's it. Pretty bad, to be honest. At least the characters are pretty big. straight into the game. This is Goiken Myo Anarchy in the Nippon. Now this is by a company called Media Moose, and apparently that company is made up of ex-Sega employees. The story goes, now I don't know if this is true, but the story goes that these programmers wanted to make another 3D fighter, and Sega said no because Virtua Fighter 2 was about to be released and they didn't want the two games clashing. So they left Sega, made their own company, and come out with this. How true that story is, I don't know, but there you go. So as you'd expect, this game does play quite like Virtua Fighter. It's got some weird moves, as you just saw there. Sticking the fingers up your ass, known as a kancho in Japan. So you don't have to do some weird gay stuff here. Characters range from schoolgirls, skater guys, salary men, as you just saw there, to an old woman with glasses. And the game does play quite well. In fact, it plays pretty much like Virtua Fighter 2. You know, you got reversals in there, your combos and so on. And it does run the Sega Saturn's highest resolution. And pretty much it's a solid looking game, and it does feature an awful lot of modes. But be warned that every menu in this game is in Japanese, so you might want to check out game facts, unfortunately, to get a translation of all the menus. I'm sorry, I know you're probably just getting into that intro then, but it does go on for quite some time, and we've got a lot of games to show, so we'll have to cut it short. This is Last Bronx, one of my favourite 3D fighters from Sega actually, again running in the Saturn's highest resolution, but this one features weapons, not like bashing someone around the head with a pair of nunchucks, is there?
Round one, fight!
Against the usual situation, guard, punch, kick, with button combinations coupled in with a few D-pad moves to get your combos out. And all the battles take place around different parts of Tokyo. Apparently, I'm not sure where this stage is meant to be, but just before we had Shibuya, we've also got to Ueno Park as well, and a few other places.
Round one, fight!
If you do manage to get the Japanese version of this game, you'll notice that it comes on 2 discs, whereas the Western version only comes on 1 disc. The second disc is basically a training disc, and it gives you a rundown of all the different moves used within the game, let you practice the moves and so on. And it's got a little bit of a comedy in there with your little super deformed versions of each character. But it is a nice little extra, and you do get some stickers as well, and a Last Bronx poster. If that really matters to you, that is. Now this is a bit of a weird title. This was one of the first 3D, well, apart from Virtua Fighter, beat 'em ups on the Sega Saturn, but it's not really truly 3D because it uses 3D backgrounds with 2D sprites, and the result is it's a little bit mixed. Sometimes it looks quite impressive, sometimes it looks a bit on the iffy side, But overall, for such an earlier Sega Saturn game, it's quite impressive, to be honest. I should expect it does play a little bit on the stiff side, but once you get used to that, it's well, I won't say it's great, but you know, it's average. And I should expect you have your special moves in there as well. It's definitely a title to pick up, especially if you can find it cheap. Mind you, I should point out that even though this game is quite nice as a novelty, it is a bit on the easy side. You will finish it on your first go without much of an effort. Now I did say that this Virtual Core Fighting Special wasn't going to feature any fighting games based on sports. While SAVAKI is technically based on a sport, or a various sports, I thought it might be a good idea to stick on the show because it is quite an obscure title. And it does boast quite a few features that many fighting games don't. It runs at a solid 60 frames a second, it's got full light sourcing, fully shaded, and apparently real life animation. It's time for another PlayStation conversion, and this was one game that PlayStation fans really loved to rub in the face of Saturn fans, because at the time Sega Saturn gamers only had Virtua Fighter to play with, and to be honest, that did look shit. Well, they had Toshinden. While Toshinden looked quite nice, it played like shit. Needless to say, this Sega Saturn version, complete with a brand new CG intro there, doesn't look as good as the PlayStation version, although it does make a decent effort. It says the game's programmed by Takada, reprogrammed by Sega, but that's a load of crap. It's actually by Nextech, people who made D3rd. Anyway, as I was saying, it's got a bit of a new design, it's got story mode in there and whatever, and it sort of looks like the PlayStation version, but it still plays like a load of crap. Yes, you would have thought Nextech would, speed up a little bit, make the moves a little bit more fluent, but no, they just left it the same. So what we have here is a poor man's imitation of a PlayStation game that plays just as crap as the PlayStation original. Definitely left on the shelf, I think.
Ring out! Bout 1, fight!
Sonic Blast! Deadly Lace! Show them! Sonic Shock! Sonic Blast! Show me! Show them! Show them! Ichagari!
And staying in the world of Toshinden, this is Toshinden URA or URA, depending on how you want to pronounce it, which basically stands for Toshinden, Ultimate Revenge Attack. Again, coming to us from Naxat. Oh, sorry, not Naxat, Naxtech. One unusual thing about the intro on this game, apart from Dragon or whatever, it actually runs in a Saturn's harsh resolution. Don't know why they did that, because it makes it look even worse, because the encoding's not so good. But one thing you will notice about this game is the loading is next to non-existent. Now I have not edited anything out here, and see how fast the level comes on? Now I will give it to Nextech. They have really done a good job on the textures with this game. Textures do not wobble, they do not warp. They actually look quite nice. In fact, it's one of the prettier 3D fighting games. Unfortunately, they still haven't learned their lesson. It still plays like you're underwater. Okay, it's a little bit faster than the other Toshinden games, but it's still a bit on the sluggish side. And lack of any decent sound effects doesn't really help either. Still, it's a vast improvement on the original Toshinden, put it that way. Granddaddy of all Saturn games. This is Virtual Fighter, the first game to come out for the system, and it's bloody awful compared to the arcade. But I've got to admit, when I first got the Sega Saturn, I played this non-stop because there was no one else out there, you know, at the time. Well, you did have the Jaguar with their pathetic 3D shit they called games, and of course all the Jaguar fanboys were saying their 3D fighters were better than Virtua Fighter. Yeah, right. Virtua Fighter's pretty bad, but not as bad as their games. Anyway, yeah, the Saturn Virtua Fighter was a bit of a rush job, as you can certainly tell. Polygon clipping everywhere, very low polygon count compared to later games. Mind you, this stage, Sarah's stage, does have a bit of light sourcing. One thing that this game does feature, which pretty much every other 3D fighter didn't feature, was an actual polygon made floor. Drawbacks to this being an early title is the floor disappears and breaks up all over the place. That was later changed to a a sort of a scaling sprite floor, which you'll see right now on Virtua Fighter's remix. So as you can see, it's a vast improvement over the original Virtua Fighter, fully textured, using the sprite scaled floor so it doesn't break up at all, and it's got much higher detailed texture mapping on it. Well, it's not even textured, is it? It's just a bitmap. And the game is actually a lot smoother as well in frame rate. Now this is what should have been released when the Saturn came out. Unfortunately it was a bit late, and you know, Saturn already had a reputation of being a bit crappy on the 3D side. Never mind.
Fight! 1, ready, go!
As far as game modes go, it's exactly the same as Virtua Fighter. In fact, it is the same game, just with a fresh lick of paint. Same moves, same gameplay options, versus mode, versus computer mode, and a training mode. Nothing new at all. Originally, this game was released as a standalone special edition, which you have to pay for, but then they released it in the shops where you could actually buy it, and they also released a network version where you could play online versus. From Virtua Fighter Remix we go to Virtua Fighter 2, running in the Sega Saturn's highest resolution. One of the first 3D beat-em-ups to do that. Well, not one of the first, it was the first. Very lovely texture maps. This game is the game that basically set the limits for 3D fighters on the Saturn. Of course, by standards these days it's not so hot, but when you consider back in 1995, this was the most solid looking 3D fighter, and I'm not just being a fanboy, or well, not a fanboy, but I'm not just saying that. Compared to the likes of Tekken, which wobbled all over the place thanks to the PlayStation's geometry issues, this looked like an arcade game. Sure, it didn't have the 3D backgrounds, but it played like the arcade, and that's what's most important.
1, ready, go!
The game also features Virtua Fighter 2.1, which doesn't mean much to most people, but to the hardcore Virtua Fighter fan, that was a big deal, you know. Controls tightened up a few little extra moves here and there. It's all the difference to the hardcore fan. The game also features a remix soundtrack, as well as the original soundtrack. Plus, you can change the size of the rings, you know, various other options that affect how the game plays. There's also quite a few modes to play in there, so it should keep most people happy for quite some time. If there really was one criticism I had with the game, it was the speech samples were extremely low. Apparently this is because there wasn't enough memory left for higher quality speech samples. And I don't really remember if the RAM cards were around at this time. If they were, you'd have to ask yourself why didn't Sega use one? But I don't think they were available. I think they came after this game did.
Aren't you about ready to go home now? Fight! 1, ready, go!
Believe it or not, this was actually released in the arcades in Japan. It's Virtua Fighter Kids. Basically it plays just like Virtua Fighter 2, but Everything's all cutesy.
One. Ready, go!
Again in about a year.
And we come to the last of the 3D fighters, and unfortunately the last game of this Retro Course special. This is Zero Divide Final Conflict. Now, the original Zero Divide games were all on the PlayStation, the first three that is. This game actually features a story mode, or not really a story mode, but more of a history of the Zero Divide games, and actually takes you through the actual background story to all the PlayStation games. Now, this Sega Saturn version makes you wonder why they brought it out on the Saturn. Actually, runs in the Saturn's highest resolution, and in fact, it looks quite similar to Virtua Fighter 2. You know, in the way it looks, but it does have a few plus points over the Virtua Fighter 2 engine. Characters have real-time shading, which Virtua Fighter 2 didn't. You've also got some reflective areas on some of the characters as well. Plus you've got semi-3D backgrounds. And the whole game does run at a very nice frame rate. I think it's a pretty solid 30 frames a second. I don't think it is 60.
Get set. Ready, go!
As far as playability goes, well, yeah, it plays like Virtua Fighter 2. Yeah, I'm not joking, it does play quite similar. Similar set buttons. A your block, B your punch, and C your kick. And the same combinations as well. Of course, characters do have different moves than the characters in Virtua Fighter, but any fans of Virtua Fighter will feel right at home with this one.
Get set. Ready, go!
So the show is coming to an end. I hope you enjoyed this special. And who knows, maybe in winter, if I've got time, there'll be another Retro Core special. Unfortunately, there never is going to be a series like there used to be. Just don't have the time anymore. But the specials will keep on coming. Problem is, when? Yeah.
Ring out.
So until next time, keep on gaming.